What up? Alex Earnest here. Thank you so much for joining me for week 3 of the process. This week's episode is on impatience. Have you ever been really excited to start something? Maybe it's like a new game or a new toy, but you got it and you're super pumped to play it and to work on it. Or maybe you started doing an art, like you got a guitar and you're like, fuck yeah, I'm gonna be the best guitarist ever. I'm gonna get everyone to love me, and you start playing it. And then, initially you're just excited about like any little noise you're making, but then you start getting into, where you're not just happy about making noise, but you want to start making songs, and you start running into roadblock after roadblock. And after a sort of initial burst of making it past many of these small problems, you start running into problems that are a little bit more difficult and take a little bit more time, and that enthusiasm starts to wane, and you start wondering like, wow, do I really want to do this? Like, how badly do I want to be the guitarist? How badly do I want to be in that band and have those connections? Do I really have songs to make? Will people ever love it? Is this the right thing for me to do? Well, especially when it's early on in the process, a lot of this comes from that sort of impatience, that wanting to be there now, that results orientation that this show is trying to create solutions for. And so this week I've been struggling with my own struggle. I've had my own struggles with impatience. I've had my own struggles of the little thing inside me trying to be everything right now. And so on this episode, I want to take you on a journey through those feelings, where we talk about them, discuss them, and find ways to move past them. So I hope this ends up bringing you all some value. I love you. Thank you so much for joining me. I hope you enjoy your time. What up? The first lesson I learned this week is that things go wrong. So originally this was in reference to last week. I was having all the struggles with the audio equipment, and all these unforeseen things that I didn't know were going to be issues, didn't even know were possible, I've never heard of before, became issues that then set me back, which then got me frustrated, which then got me feeling overwhelmed and stressed, and on this cycle that I've been having a hard time breaking out of, I feel, until today really. I think getting to do this, I actually, as much as I was nervous about it, being here, love it, love being on camera, love it when I get started. Getting started, sometimes challenging. Being here, blessed. But I wanted to normalize for you that things go wrong. There are going to be things that come up as you're in the process of working on whatever you're working on that you did not expect, things that you couldn't have prepared for, things that you literally didn't have the awareness to be aware of before they happen. And that's okay. That's a part of the process, and there's a learning process with that. And the struggle with impatience here is that whenever you're impatient to be there already, like you want to be successful, you want to be the best, you want to already be at the top of the game, then that's where you're believing you are right now. Like you've attached yourself to this ego and the status of I am great right now. Then every setback and every failure and every difficulty, everything that goes wrong is evidence that you aren't who you think you are. It's evidence that you aren't good enough. You aren't good enough to be that. But if you can flip the identity and flip the story, then you can end up in a situation where the things going wrong is a natural part of the process and actually benefits you, because it helps you in learning and solidifying the lessons that will take you in the direction that you're trying to get to. Now, it's a great idea, and I think you can work your way into that, but I think it's also an energy that you fluctuate in and out of, and early on in the process, it's natural for you to be struggling with this sort of impatience and for these kind of issues to flare up. So I've been struggling with it the past week, but whenever you relax and can calm down from that agitation and detach yourself from that identity, you begin to enter into a situation in which you can be okay with things going wrong and understand their role in helping you learn and develop, instead of taking them as evidence that you aren't good enough. So, what up? So the second lesson I learned this week is that the mountain is never as tall as you think it is. Only fear makes it so. Whenever you're afraid that if you don't get there soon, you'll never get there, the mountain seems insurmountable. It seems so giant, and you have so many problems that you have to fix in order to be able to climb it. And you have to start doing everything now, and you have to start sacrificing relationships. You have to start sacrificing sleep. You have to start sacrificing everything else so that you can do as much as possible now to get there soon, because if you don't make it soon, then you won't make it. Except why won't you make it if you don't make it soon? Why is there that need to get there now? Like, what's in that belief that you can't keep it up over the longer term, that if you aren't successful instantly, if you don't climb the mountain right away, then you'll never make it to the top? You know, some people take it as like every day they aren't at the top of the mountain is more evidence that they'll never make it to the top of the mountain, so they get caught trying to rush themselves up as quickly as possible, as if almost trying to beat an inevitable curse where they'll slide back down if they don't make it up fast enough. You know, and this kind of impatience can trigger all sorts of things that are not conducive towards the actual result that you're looking for. In a way, if you think that you have to be doing everything and solving everything now and pushing up as fast as possible, then of course you won't believe that you can keep it up in the longer term, which then only makes you feel like you have to go even faster and faster. But when you start accepting that your goal is just to reach the top of the mountain, and your goal isn't necessarily to climb it as fast as possible, and you're willing to take the long route, and then you can just focus on making that steady progress day after day after day after day, and then before you know it, you'll reach the top. And it'll be faster than you ever thought it would be whenever you gave up the idea of doing it as quick as you could. So thank you all. What up? I wanted to make a confession real quick about why I've been struggling with impatience, and a big part of that has been my desire for money, which sounds bad. I don't think that means that I don't want to help y'all. I don't think that means that I don't have real feelings, and I think you all can feel it with the talking and feel it with the authenticity that there is, you know, there is more to this than that. But I want that time. Like, that's what I just want to be able to quit. I just want to be able to quit my day job, man, so I can read more, I can work on these more, I can work on my art more, so I can design and structure my life based on my schedule and my timeline, so that I can do the most I can do for you all. But the impatience for that, and the impatience for, I wish I had it now, how much better would things be if I had that now, causes me to sometimes rush and push myself, try to imagine myself as being further ahead than I really am, as well as kind of rushing for what can I get out of it and needing that sort of validation. And so it's something I've had to address in myself this past week, and I had to reevaluate and come to a different sort of terms to. I think it's okay to want to be able to support yourself with what you do. I think it's okay to believe that what you're giving out is worth receiving from. And I'm going to try to find a better balance of that in the future. But for now, I'm going to work with the time I do have to give you what I can give you, which is all the love in my heart. What up? So the third thing I learned this week is that whenever you shut off your feelings, whenever you repress or avoid feeling any of your feelings, you diminish your capacity to feel all of them. So this past week, the way I've been struggling with this was I was feeling a certain kind of grief and frustration, some doubt, some fear about things not just like instantly popping off and going viral, which logically I would have always told you would never happen, but a certain little like ego part of me, like a certain little thing in my belly, like sort of really believed that maybe everything would just go great and everyone would just love me, and I knew it was silly. And so part of knowing that it's silly made me like, no, like I don't feel that. I'm better than that. We're above that. We just, okay, whatever, ripple, we're gonna ride it out. But there's a certain kind of grief that you have to let yourself experience when it comes to that, because as you're building up to begin starting something, there's a sort of self that develops in your mind's eye of who you are as you're doing this and in relation to this and what the possibilities for that person are. And if that becomes a part of it, where this vision of you can just be successful and maybe, quick, then whenever you're confronted with the evidence that makes it so that, that part is nixed out because you already knew, but whatever. Whenever that's nixed out, there's a certain kind of death that comes with that, and that's the death of that ego, the death of that sense of self. And if you don't allow yourself to feel that grief and to let that grief process, to let that kind of sadness or that, let yourself pass that, then you diminish your capacity to feel the love for what you're doing. So, because you're too attached to that previous self. And by not allowing that to die, you diminish your relationship to the other emotions. You can almost imagine it like your emotion center is just an abstract, just any emotion comes from the center, and so whenever you cover that up to avoid certain painful feelings, or sometimes even positive feelings. I was also doing this intimately, avoiding like having any feelings for anyone that I was seeing, so that way I could avoid, questions of, different commitment questions, as well as different issues of like attachment and, wanting to remain a certain kind of distance. And I was avoiding feeling those feelings. I didn't want to feel them because I had an idea of what I should be doing right now. And because I was stuffing those feelings down, I was diminishing my ability to feel for myself and the love I have for myself. I was diminishing the love for the artist, for aesthetics, for nature. Because I wasn't allowing myself to feel several different feelings, I was putting myself into a kind of endless cycle of frustration and futility, because that eventually those feelings end up demanding you to feel them and to release them. And whenever they're demanding for you to feel and release them, they sort of begin to override everything else, and you get caught up in a sort of predominant sense of like futility and frustration, and you get caught up in impatience. Because you want to be past it now. You want to be past those feelings now. You want to just like, okay, I get it. I knew it wasn't going to happen. I let it go. Let's move on. It doesn't work like that. You have to let yourself really feel that, and feel the pain of that, feel the grief of that, so then you can move on fully processed. You can't, if you get caught up in impatience in processing these feelings, then that will only lead to more impatience as the frustrations continue to persist and continue to cut you off from those positive emotions, those feelings of love, those feelings of connection, those feelings of gratitude that are the fuel that will keep you going in the longer term. So, what up? Thank you all so much for being here. I really appreciate you watching this. I really appreciate all of the likes, comments, and shares. Really quickly, I want to make a note. There is one case in which impatience is not only justified, but it is warranted and needed. It is a necessary feeling for us all to embrace, and that is impatience for justice on the killers of Breonna Taylor. We need them arrested, we need them charged, we need them convicted. It is more than justified, any impatience for them. It is needed for all of us to stop being willing to wait and to call for action. If we collectively all call for action, the changes that we could see could be amazing. So that's one case in which impatience is more than okay. It is necessary. But thank you all so much for being patient with me and my learning, and everything that I've been trying to learn in the process. There's still a lot for me to learn, and all of your comments, all your DMs, all your messages help me learn. All of your likes, all of the shares not only help other people see it, which gives me a chance for more potential feedback, which helps me learn and get better so that I can offer more to you, but it also lets some more people see it. And if you love this, I hope you want more people to see it. So thank you all so much for the support. Thank you for sharing your time with me. Thank you for being patient with me. I hope that this helps you in dealing with your own impatience. Much love. I hope you're having a great time. I hope that everything is as good as it can be in these trying and heavy times. It doesn't have to be great. You don't have to be amazing. You are amazing simply for being here. And I hope that you find as much peace as you can. So thank you.